All right. It's a few minutes after 7. We're going to get started. If everybody could grab a chair in the back and sit. The fire marshal has been kind enough to be the fire watch captain as well tonight and allowing us to have extra seats in the back. We're trying to keep this wall clear because if people do want to speak, we're going to have them line up against this wall, which I'll explain at the appropriate time, to come up and speak.
Okay.
All right, we're going to get started.
Okay, before we call the annual town meeting, it's on. It's on. Is that better?
Yes.
Before we call the annual town meeting tonight, I would like to read a letter I will be filing with the town clerk's office tomorrow morning. Dear Town Clerk, I am writing to inform you of my decision to resign from my position as Bethany First Selectman. Effective the close of business on June 6, 2025. It has been a great honor and privilege to serve the town I love, and I am grateful for the opportunity to have made a contribution. I've always acted in the best interests of the town of Bethany, and while I disagree with the findings of the recent report as to my conduct, I recognize that my continuing as First Selectwoman will be a distraction to the important business that needs to be done. I appreciate the support and cooperation I have received from everyone during my time here, and I hope the town of Bethany and all of its residents can begin the process of healing. Sincerely, Paula Co-Francesco, First Selectwoman. That is my statement for the evening. I have no other additional comments. I'd like to call Bob Brenton forward to call the meeting to order now.
Can I ask one question? Because we were clapping and making light, so I didn't hear when that takes effect.
The effective date will be at the end of business on Friday, June 6th.
Okay, I believe the first order of business is, if you don't mind standing, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Flags over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The second item of business is we need to elect a moderator. Are there any nominations? Sally? All right, is there a second to that nomination? Amy Listinsky. Any further nominations? Any further nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of Carol Goldberg? All right, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a lot to get through tonight. To let you know what the order is going to be, we're going to have 2 award presentations first. First by the Conservation Commission, and then the First Selectman's Youth Award. Then we will have information about the budget presented, and then we will go through the budget call. There is the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee handed out a survey and a flyer, or a survey. If you guys could fill it out and hand it, either you can send it over to the edge and they'll pick it up, or on the way out the door, there's a table on the left. It's to determine whether or not they want to apply for a grant as to whether or not there should be various composting sites around the town. And if you guys think there should be, then they'll go ahead and apply. If you think that there shouldn't be, then they won't. That's basically what it's all about. All right, so Bob Harrison, Conservation Award.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Bob Harrison, an alternate on the Conservation Commission. And each year, the Conservation Commission presents the Conservationists of the Year Award to recognize excellence in environmental protection and/or significant contributions to the advancement of conservation. Tonight, we honor Allie Beres-Nork of Bethany as Bethany's 2025 Conservationist of the Year. Nominated by one of her students at Amity High School, Allie is an environmental science teacher, passionate about inspiring a love for science and the natural world. She believes in the power of hands-on experience and fieldwork. For example, her students have volunteered to clear invasive plants from Bethany's trails, and we have a lot of them for sure, and they help maintain the campus pollinator garden that she created. She also created a food rescue initiative through which thousands of pounds of donated school cafeteria food and drink have been given to Haven's Harvest, an organization dedicated to reducing food waste. Outside of teaching, Allie actively contributes to environmental initiatives locally as a member of the Bethany Conservation Commission and the Sustainable Bethany Committee. She serves on the Bethany Land Trust Board of Directors and is also a hardworking member of the Wild Bunch, our Land Trust Trail crew. As a Connecticut State Master Naturalist, Allie leads hikes and delivers lectures on ecology and natural history. Just last fall, she led a hike through Mendel's Folly, where she explained how beavers sustain wetlands and support biodiversity. She holds 2 master's degrees, one in science education and the other in land resources and environmental sciences. Currently, she is seeking her PhD in environmental experiential learning at the University of Idaho. So, Allie, tonight, and this is from Jack, we celebrate you, a conservationist, an educator, a leader who turns challenges into opportunities, and who reminds us that every small act of care shapes our shared future. Your work isn't just preserving Bethany's landscapes, it's cultivating stewards who will protect them for generations. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Allie, well deserved. And now the First Selectman's Youth Award.
I'm not sure if my recipient snuck in. Oh, there you are. Shane, come on up here. This is an award I started several years ago when I was working in Woodbridge. They were doing it for a number of years, and I decided why isn't Bethany doing it, so I initiated it. And this year, Shane Johnson is our recipient for 2025. Shane serves his community. He's a scout, and he's not afraid to take AP classes. How many did you sign up for?
4, 5 this year.
4 or 5 this year, so he's not afraid of a challenge for sure. But I was very excited and honored to be able to present this plaque to you. But we also have a small monetary contribution, which Webster Banks is always nice enough to participate in this. So these are both for you, okay? And I want to congratulate you and wish you all the best. Where are you heading off to?
Northeastern
Okay.
University in Boston.
What are you going to major in?
Not sure yet.
Not sure? Okay, I'm sure whatever you decide to challenge, you will do just fine. So congratulations
Thank
and
you.
best of luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
Our next order of business will be to hear from Sharon Huxley. As you know, Sharon is the chair of the Board of Finance. She's going to give us a brief overview of our budget, and then we will start and go through the call. If you have questions about any aspect of this as we go along, we'll be able to address them as we go through the call.
Okay. Welcome to our annual town meeting and budget meeting. This meeting is by statute held on the third Monday in May, so here we are. Last month we had the budget hearing where we presented our initial run at the budget along with your ability to make recommendations as to whether you thought that any line item should be increased or decreased. We had no requests for changes at that time. Tonight you can go through the entire budget line by line. We have the opportunity to do that. You can only reduce line items, however. You can't increase them, okay? As long as everyone understands that that's where we are, that's where we were a month ago, that's where we are tonight, okay? Our objectives, they really haven't changed. They start with maintaining the physical plant and important services. We want to continue to provide quality education for our children. We are still trying, although there are fewer opportunities, to pursue grants and outside funding to reduce the burden on taxpayers for pretty much anything, any opportunity we can get. And we're trying to plan carefully for the future because we want to protect the town from unexpected events. That's one of the reasons for standards for how much money you have in your general fund. And we still want to try also to stabilize taxes. And the last one is something we've been working on for the last couple of years, trying to improve our analysis of our expenditures and revenues so that we can do a better job of budgeting. We think we're doing a better job on fiscal 25 and that's going to actually be better for 26. Okay, next one. First, fiscal 2024. Okay, this is the results of the audit, and what we found was that for 2024, we estimated $26,260,000 in revenue. We actually got $27 million. That was unexpected. The state changes things mid-year, and that's what happened. And also, some of it was grants that we weren't expecting. So we actually got $750,000 more in revenue than we were expecting. This is not normal, but we'll take it. We also had a good year in terms of expenditures. And what happened was we had budgeted to have $26.4 million in expenditures. We actually only spent $25.8. That 615 in green with the 3 asterisks over on the right is how much we underspent the budget. So between the $750,000 of additional revenue and then the 600,000 underspending, what we ended up with was an audited surplus of $1.3 million. Cool. What we are planning to do with this is there's nothing that we can do in terms of adjusting the revenues because we can't make the state give us more money, okay? But what we can do this year is take that 600,000 of underspend from 2024, and we're going to use that to subsidize the mill rate for 2026. So what we're doing is using 600,000 instead of taxing you for that 600,000. we're going to take it from the general fund because you already paid taxes on it. Okay, so next. 24, 25, 26, what's happening with our budget trend, we think we're getting closer and closer to getting it right on. And in 2024, the actual, as we just discussed, was 1.2 million. 2025, right now, we're getting closer. We were aiming for 0, and right now it looks like we're ahead by 305,000. So that's a lot closer to 0 than the year before. And for 2026, we're aiming for 0 because that's where we should be. Next. Okay, what's going to happen in the next year? Major road repair, the long ongoing major road repair project, bonded project, is nearing completion, but all major road resurfacing is now going to be done from the capital budget. We had been doing some of it from the capital budget, individual called out roads, and the rest of it we were doing. We also had a line in the operating budget. We've taken it out of the operating budget. We're only going to be doing it in the capital budget. So you'll see that although that dollar amount is going up in the capital budget, it's disappearing from the operating budget. Okay, ongoing road repair as opposed to major resurfacing is going to be done still from the operating budget. And Round Hill Road, we had talked about that the last 2 years. We did not get the grant. When the new grant was announced, they had completely changed the rules so that we were basically not eligible for it anymore, or it wasn't something that was going to work for Bethany. So what's happening is the project is being scaled back, and it's going to be part of the major road resurfacing, the first line. So there's no longer going to be a separate line item like we were asking for last year and the year before. 2026 expenditures. Okay, now we went over this a month ago, but you may not all have been here. Town hall operations are going to be essentially 30% of the budget. The Amity Board of Ed is basically 33%. It's actually more than that, but because when they have a surplus, they are not refunding the surplus. We are, again, just like, because they're keeping the money, essentially. Some of it they're using going forward to reduce a monthly payment once a year, but there's other surplus funds that we have that we just set aside because, again, you have already been taxed for that money even though they didn't use it. So we're holding it in an assigned fund, and we have reduced our appropriation, not what was approved in the Amity budget for expenditures, but how much we're going to tax you for by the amount that we've already set aside that you were taxed on basically 3 years ago. The Bethany Board of Ed is 30% of your budget. The capital budget is $620,000. That's only 2.2% of our overall budget. Land acquisition is $100,000 this year, as it has been for quite a few years. Debt reduction, what we're doing is we're paying off the bonds that paid for the roads to be repaired, and that's what our mandatory payment is next year. So what we have is a forecast expenditure of $27,227,425. And there it is. Okay. So in order to spend that money, we have to collect that money. So our revenues go as follows. Although taxes are up at the top, that's the default, the back into it number. We start out with what we know, the second line, intergovernment. That means essentially it's state funds. We have some other intergovernment transfers, but the state is going to, at this time, we think this is what we're going to get, approximately $2.4 million. Town departments have estimated that $658,000 will come in basically in terms of permits I think it's primarily permits. And other sources of revenue, there are all kinds of other sources, but they're all fairly minor, 934,000. And then the subsidy from the general fund of 600,000. When we put all of those together and subtract it from the 27.2 million, that's when we get the 22,651 of taxes, okay? So we backed into it, and it includes reducing, counting as revenue, the underspend from 2024, okay? Next. Overall, departmental budgeting, town government is going up $20,000. That's not a whole lot. We tried really, really hard. We started our budgeting saying, we really want to look, because we've had a couple of years with really big surpluses, and we're trying not to be doing that. So we worked on that. Education, between the two boards of education and our share, it's almost $500,000, an increase of 2.79%. Capital and non-recurring, 812. Please notice that that is going down. We've managed to reduce that by 11%. Debt service, because the outstanding bonds payable is going down, debt service is going to go down because there's less interest involved. Let's see, less non-tax revenue, that's what came from the previous page, that revenue, and the general fund subsidy. What we're looking at for 26 is a taxable, a net tax collections of 22,651,801. That is 0.9% increase. We think we've done good. Okay. Next page. I'm going to go through these really, really quickly, because these are individual line items, and they go on for 4 pages, okay? These are things that most of them you've seen before. Quite a few of them, anything that's got some kind of a little notation way over on the left means that it's coming from a grant or from the capital reserve, from some non-appropriation source, okay? So that essentially you will not be paying taxes for it. Road paving, we're planning to hold even for 2 years, and then it's going to have to go up. It's going to have to go up because we're going to be at the point where some of the roads that had been done a while ago are going to start needing more work again. So another round. HVAC, whoops, sorry, went to the wrong one. BAA fencing around the baseball field, there are part of the fence is down, and we own that property now, and we have to keep it safely fenced, so we have to replace the fence. But you'll know that's LOSIP, isn't it? Leslie, where are you? LOSIP?
Yes.
LOSIP, right? Okay. LOSIP means Local Capital Improvement Funds from the state. Okay. The targeted guardrail project, Don is still putting guardrails up around town in places where they're needed. The project has been doing it in steps because it was going to be very, very expensive to do it all at once, and this is being done again with LOSIP funding. The horse rings at the airport need some work, and so we're asking for $5,000 for this year, even though the threshold, the mandatory threshold for town meeting approval is $20,000. LOSIP requires that it be an approved capital item in order for them to pay it. So that's why this 5,000 is on this on the call of this meeting, because if it isn't approved in the capital plan, then LOSIP will not give us the money. And we're planning, hopefully, to do more extensive work there again with LOSIP funds, we hope, next year. The airport, there's some field fencing that has pretty much become necessary for the south part of the grassed area because unfortunately people are driving around out there on the grass, tearing up the turf and doing assorted other obnoxious things. Next year. We need a new backhoe. The backhoe's pretty expensive. We did decide that maybe we didn't want to do that one this year, and hopefully next year there will be fewer other capital demands so that we can entertain that one. The Vets Park area pavement, some of it's already been done, right? You're just cleaning up, you haven't done it yet, okay, because we had moved that out to next year. 2 years out, you'll see this is a 5-year plan because we are required to give you a 5-year plan. I'm sure you realize, just like if you have your own 5-year plan, after the first year, it gets less and less, fixed because more things happen that you find out about. But there's a 12-yard dump out there. So that's all for Public Works. The total is $502,000, but some of it's being done by LOSIP. Next page, quickly. The fire department, we're hoping to finish the funding for the second ambulance that has already been ordered. Is it finally in process? Anybody back there? No, really? Delivery in 2027. Okay. See? And what?
Sorry.
Boeing, okay. The HVAC upgrades at the firehouse, you see the little asterisk. A, first, it needs to be done, and B, if you approve it, it will be paid for in LOSIP funds. Tanker 82 is going to need some work in 2 years, and then the EMS fly car is out there for 27, 28. And then Tanker 87 gets its turn in 28, 29. And then the incident command vehicle, which by then will be over 10 years old, or just 10 years old, I forget right about then, will be coming up for replacement out in 2930. Okay. Town Hall, basically town hall accounts. There's a new police cruiser that's going to be, we have one that needs to be replaced, that big old, what is it, Expedition, the big old silver one. They bought it used and it's done. The little carrot there means that it's going to be paid for not from an additional appropriation, but from the police special duty fund, okay? Then, moving on, under IT, we have for this year, the land use department has to do some archival, I think most of it's digitizing, Lena, is that correct? Yeah, digitizing, and we split it up over 2 years, and they've asked for permitting software, but that still is not ready for an RFP, so that we're not sure how much it's going to cost, so that's why that's for next year. That's the total of non-recurring. At this point, we're up to $1 million in expenditures this year. We unfortunately have another page, but we're not actually paying for all of it. Then carrying it forward, sinking funds, meaning that we're taking money now and setting it aside for the future, and that's it's not necessarily cash. We're not appropriating for those, but okay. First, for equipment and vehicle replacement, what we've been doing is, you may recall, you may not recall, but last year we had an incredibly long laundry list of small-ish, compared to other things, pieces of equipment for Park and Rec. No, not for Park and Rec, for Public Works, sorry. And what we're doing now is we're just going to start setting aside funds and essentially say we're going to have this fund, and when we need something, it's just going to come out of it instead of making you approve it every item one at a time. In terms of Infrastructure could be anything. Um, yeah, it could be almost anything. Land acquisition, 100,000. What we've got here is we're looking at 100,000 a year. Subtotal for 25-26 in these, and that is also a sinking fund because we're setting aside funds to be used later. We could use them all right now, but we don't have that need. Summary total is $1.1 million, and grant-funded projects, the LOCIPs, are 67,000. Reserve funding, 250,000 of it is coming out of the capital reserve, and then the special duty fund is going to pay 75,000 for the police cruiser. So there we are. 1.1 million in expenditures, and including land acquisition, we are asking for an appropriation of 720,000. So basically less than 3/4 of the expenditures we're actually asking for appropriation, tax money for this year. Right? The fund balance percentage, this is our cushion. It's our money in the bank just in case. And it's essentially, it is generated by accumulated surpluses. That's the only way that we can acquire additional funds in our general fund. One of the things that happens is it is measured, the percentage that we're going to look at here is a percentage of the next year's expenditures. So it's this year's general fund, or actually it's the end of last year's general fund compared to next year's expenditures. So what's happening is as your expenditures go up, your general fund has to go up in terms of dollars, okay? Because otherwise your percentage will go down. One of the things it does is help determine our bond rating. Our bond rating only gets changed if we have a bond issue. So we have the best bond rating we can have for something, for a community our size. It's a single A, large A, capital A, small A, which is the best we can have. The recommendation for government finance officials is that you have 2 to 3 months of your estimated expenditures in this fund, because if something happens, you need a large chunk of cash, you should have it available. They recommend for smaller municipalities that it be the 3 months, because $1 million for New Haven, they could probably write the check. $1 million would really be pretty tough for us. Okay. The end of the 22 fund was at 23.19. So we're talking about it hopefully being between 25, no lower than 25%, no higher than 33. So it went from 23 to 25 at the end of 23, and we did not know we were going to have the year we had in 24 with the extra revenue and the lower expenses. The ratio has gone too high. So it's up to 27.6, and that's pretty much the $600,000, again, that was under expend. It's in the surplus, and we're going to use it to reduce taxation for next year. Okay. Fund balance history, it's the same percentages, only a nice pretty little bar chart. It goes up, it goes down. The tax levy for next year, interesting, the grand list dropped over $8 million. That's like unheard of. The grand list is the tax base for the town. It's the assessed value of real estate, personal property, and motor vehicles. And it was primarily in personal property and motor vehicle assessments. The state changed the way motor vehicles were assessed, and everybody in the state has to use the same method. And so we lost a bunch of the grand list, which means that taxes, part of why taxes are going up is because of that. Actually, taxes would not have gone up if the grand list had not gone down. So the calculation isn't here. Where did that go? Is it the next page? All right, okay, so for each 100,000 of assessment, we are recommending a mill rate of 29.14. That would be 2,914 for 100,000 in assessed value. The next, this is the calculation, sorry, I thought I had them in the opposite order. We have the budget expenditures less than non-tax revenues, and then we have what we need from taxes. But that's before making adjustments. So the first thing we have to do is take out the exemptions. That's anybody who has, like, bless you. We have some exemptions for different reasons, for military, for our qualifying members of the fire department, for some seniors in certain circumstances, and so on. Those are dollar amounts that they're not going to have to pay. So we have to add that back in because we're not going to get it. We're not going to get it from them, so we have to get it from everybody else. That's the way it works. Okay. So we figure out what we need to collect. And in order to get that 22.752, we have to divide by the collection rate, because the collection rate is 99%. We're actually getting in, our tax collector is doing an awesome job. I believe she's somehow over 100% for this year. Yeah, so people whose taxes were in arrears are being caught up on. But we divide by the collection rate to figure out how much the tax bills have to be when they go out, because we're estimating, you can't estimate more than 99%, but therefore we need a slightly higher amount. We divide that by the grand list, which again is $8 million less than it was last year, and we came up with 29.14 mils. Last year, based on what we were seeing then in terms of what the state was giving us, I told you that you should be expecting to see an increase of 1 mil this year, because half of it would be from probably increased expenditures. That wouldn't be unusual, and we were expecting, and we actually did see, $500,000 of motor vehicle lost tax reimbursements. It vaporized because our mill rate went below the state minimum mill rate. If you have questions, ask me later, because probably everybody doesn't want to know. All right, I am finished with this. We got really very few questions at the budget hearing. No one asked us to increase anything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the meeting back over to the moderator, and then we're going to go through, the way we're going to do this is go through the individual capital items, because each one has to be approved individually. And when we're finished with that, then we'll look at, wait a minute, where'd it go? When we're finished with that, then we'll look at the entire budget, okay? All right. And you'll be able to ask about, when we get to the operating budget, you have it in your hands. If you don't have it in your hands, go out and pick up a copy of it, because we mailed it to you, and it was out here if you didn't bring it with you. Okay, all right, thank you.
Everybody, here's the fun part. You get to decide if you want this budget or you don't want this budget. So here's what we're going to do. If you have the call, it's on the yellow sheet you received at home. If you didn't bring it with you, we have copies of them out there. Just for housekeeping purposes, we're going to go through every item on the call. Anybody who has a question, comment, concern, please just come up to the podium. Again, because of our new media system, the way that the public can watch this, because this is being streamed to those of you who weren't able to get here, that's the one spot that they can see. Just get up there, say your name, your address, ask your question. We have a number of people here who certainly will be able to answer any fiscal question you may have. The way this will be done is I will read the line item, ask for a motion to move it forward. There needs to be a second. If there is no second, the item will not move forward and we will go on to the next one. If there is a second, that item will be open for discussion. We'll talk about it and then take a vote and then move on. If I may, I would like at this point to entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the entire call, because generally you have to do that first. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And name and address.
John Paul Garcia, 190 Fairwood Road, Bethany.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second. Sullivan, 783 Road.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Do we agree with dispensing with the reading of the call? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. All right, we're going to question number 1. Thank you. Item 1. Is there a motion to accept the 2023-2024 annual budget?
No, that's the report.
Or report?
There's
It's just to see if you were awake still. Name and address. So we have a motion to accept the annual report. Is there a second? Name?
Amy Listinsky, 30 Mason Drive.
Is there any discussion? If there is, if you would come forward, that would be great. Seeing none, all in favor to accept the 2023-2024 annual report, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Good job, we're on 2. Is there a motion to authorize the capital expenditure from LOSUP of $12,000 for the Bethany Athletic Association field fencing? Is there a motion? And is there a second?
Yes. The 4625 Oakland Drive.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about this item? Go ahead. And if I need you to come up, though. And please just state your name and address.
Bruce Loomis, 11 Sabrina Drive. I'd like to start with a clarifying question. Are we talking about the field at the corner of Amity Road in Munson, the town-owned field?
Yes.
Okay. To my knowledge, this has never been officially designated as the Bethany Athletic Association field, even though they are probably the primary user of the field. And I don't think it's proper to appropriate money for something that does not exist. Therefore, I would like to make a motion to change the wording on this motion, or this item, to delete Bethany Athletic Association field and replace it with town-owned Hoppy Co-Francesco field.
Are you making a motion to amend? Are you making a motion to amend this motion? Is there a second on the motion to amend? Name and address, please.
John Paul Garcia, 190 Fairwood Road, Bethany.
Okay, so now we have discussion on the motion to amend, and the amendment is to change the name. And if you want to move forward on the amendment, is there any discussion on the motion to amend? I'm going to take a vote, and the vote we're taking on the motion to amend is just to move forward with this amendment. We'll still have to go back to the original motion as amended if you pass it. So, all in favor of the motion to amend signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, so we're going back to item 2 to authorize the capital expenditure from LOSUP of $12,000 for the town-owned Hoppy Co-Francesco field. Is there any discussion on that? Come forward, please.
Amy Rushlow, 160 Miller Road. My question is, since the Bethany Athletic Association does the majority use of it, do we get any funds from them for what they charge their recipients from using it?
Anybody here from the Bethany Athletic Association? Do you know the answer? If you, You don't know the answer, or we don't get this, the town doesn't get funds? The town does not get funds. What's your name and address, please? Okay, so the town does not get funds, apparently. Is there any other discussion about item 2 as amended? Hearing none, all in favor of moving item 2 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Item 2 passes. Item 3, I'll accept a motion to authorize the capital expenditure from LOSUP of $35,000 for a targeted guide rail project. Is there a second? Oh, somebody has to move it. Thank you.
Second, Chris Sullivan.
I need a first, but go ahead. Donna Shea and Chris Sullivan seconded. Is there any discussion about this? You have to have a sense of humor as we go through 14 of these, you know? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of authorizing item 3 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Item 3 passes. Item 4, is there a motion to authorize the capital expenditure from LOSUP of $5,000 for horse ring fence repairs? Is there a motion? Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to call the motion. All in favor of item 4 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, item 4 passes. Item 5, to authorize the capital expenditure from LOSUP of $15,000 for Bethany Volunteer Fire Department HVAC upgrades. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second, Caroline Leary, 21 Grand Road.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about this item? Any questions? Any comments? Seeing none, I'll move the question. All in favor of item 5 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? You guys are awesome. We're on to 6. All right. To authorize, I'll take a motion to authorize the expenditure from the Police Special Duty Fund in the amount of $75,000 for a new police cruiser. Is there a motion? Name and address.
Caroline Leary, 21 Grand Road.
Is there a second?
Second, Chris Sullivan, 783 Amity Road.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion, comments, questions? Seeing none, we'll call the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? It passes. We are on to 7. I'll take a motion to authorize the capital expenditure of $125,000 for the new ambulance and the use of $250,000 from the capital reserve. Did I miss something? What's everybody else?
Margaret Quinn, 335 Ridgeville Park.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Caroline Leary, 21 Grand Road.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of item 7 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Item 7 passes. Item 8, is there a motion to authorize the capital expenditure of $450,000 for road paving? Is there a motion?
So moved, Carmen Nancy, 50 Oakridge Drive.
Is there a second?
Second, Elizabeth Thornquist, 25 Oakridge Drive.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to call item 9. All in favor, or 8, that was 8. All in favor of item 8 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Item 8 passes. Item 9, is there a motion to authorize the capital expenditure of $45,000 for land use file archival? If there's a motion, is name and address? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Name-
John Paul Garcia, 193rd.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor of item 9 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Item 9 passes. Item 10, Is there a motion to authorize the appropriation and approve a transfer from the general fund to the land acquisition fund in the amount of $100,000? There's a motion. And what's your name and address, please? You just have to give your name and address. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of item 10 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes. Item 11, to authorize that up to 25% of the 2026 fiscal year appropriation to the Town Land Acquisition Fund shall be made available to the Bethany Land Trust, Inc. for the purpose of due diligence and transaction costs such as appraisals, surveys, and contract deposits for the acquisition of open space land in Bethany. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Is there any discussion, questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor of item 11 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? It passes. I get a gold star if we finish this like quickly. I just want you to know that. Where are we? We are number 12. I'll take a motion to receive the report and recommendations of the Board of Finance upon the budget of $27 million. This is the whole budget, guys. So anything you want to ask on the budget, now's the time. To receive the report and recommendations of the Board of Finance upon the budget of $27,227,425 for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025, and to take necessary action thereon. Is there a motion? Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions?
I have an amendment I'd like to make, please.
If you could come forward.
I'm Catherine Sylvester of 55 Old Amity Road. I'd like to make an amendment that we make an adjustment to the budget as proposed. I'd like to make an amendment that we take the first item on the budget that's listed as the selectman's salary for the first selectman, and we reduce that to $1. And the reason we do that is we have the line item in place. So when we have a first select woman who actually looks out for our interests and looks out for our children, we can restore that item to the budget. We'll just have another special meeting, we can do that. My concern is that she's in office until June 6th. This budget's effective June 1st. July 1st, excuse me, I'm corrected about that. I'm concerned about the safety of our computers and the impact it's going to have on the future litigation.
So there's an amendment to reduce the selectman's salary to $1. Is there a second? You can ask a clarifying question, yes. Could you just come up and... We're still just talking about an amendment at this moment. We don't have a second yet. We have a clarifying question, which takes priority.
Alicia Wolowski, 300 Fairwood Road. I just want to understand what she means by safety of the computers. What does that mean? What is the concern with the computers in the budget?
Could you come forward?
Yeah, I just want.
When you're the subject of litigation like this town is going to be, as we all know, the first thing they ask for is they want all your discovery, right? Part of that discovery is any correspondence, any email, any text messages, any documents that flew back and forth regarding the subject of the litigation. We have a finding from the report which says that computer information is missing in several places. This is something we need to be concerned about. It's cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Has a defendant in litigation, and I'm telling you this from personal experience, when you have to obtain the services of a forensic organization to retrieve that information. It's going to be a very expensive bill from our town, and I'm very concerned that that information needs to be preserved. And I'm not sure that we can get to the Attorney General's office or some other appropriate office fast enough to make sure that happens. We have somebody who, we have a report by an impartial group that we paid $75,000 for, that our computers were messed with, that information's missing. We have a first selectwoman who's not going to leave until June 6th. This is a concern.
All right, so we have a motion and a clarifying question and a clarifying answer. Is there a second to the motion? Excuse me 1 second. Our town attorney asked me to let you know that a litigation hold has been sent to all town employees months ago. There's a motion and is there a second? Who seconded? Your name? All right, there's a motion and a second, and the amendment is to amend the town budget, the selectman salary in the town budget to $1. If you could just come forward. So we're now discussing the amendment only.
Bob Brenton, 68 Knollwood Road. The concern about computers being erased is legitimate, but I don't see how reducing the first selectman's salary July 1 has anything to do with it. And from what we've heard, Paul is not going to be the first selectman then, so you're punishing someone who's not even there. It doesn't, the two things are totally separate. And I think you're going to make it, I mean, you can make the salary $1 if you want, but it doesn't do what Catherine was suggesting. It's just going to make whoever decides to be first selectman not have any salary, I guess. I would recommend not voting for it.
Is there any other discussion on the amendment? Go ahead.
Sharon Huxley, 340 Old Mill Road. The budget that's being proposed starts on July 1st. This is about next year. This is not about this year. And I would endorse the concerns of Mr. Brinton that there really is no reason to cut the salary when we're going to need, first of all, there's going to need to be somebody in the job who's going to need to be paid, and that it has nothing to do with the legal concerns that Ms. Sylvester has raised. Thank you. I would ask you not to adopt the amendment.
Go ahead.
Caroline Leary, 21 Grant Road. I think it's important to reduce the salary to $1 because that gives us the opportunity to decide what the appropriate salary is for the next person who steps into the role. Obviously, she gets paid a lot of money, and serious missteps were made, and I think that the town should be more involved in what the appropriate salary would be for another selectman.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, questions? Anybody want to say anything with regard to the amendment? You need to come forward. State your name and address, please.
Connie Royster, 4 Fairwood Road, Bethany. Thanks. I'm actually not sure if this goes to the amendment or if it goes to the original.
We're only talking about the $1.
I understand that, but I'm not sure.
Go ahead.
Okay.
We'll let you know.
Yeah. So my question is, we can only reduce, but can we adjust? In other words, I'm kind of going with the question that was asked about the first selectman's salary. Can we at some point adjust the first selectman's salary to account for the second selectman's salary? Because I believe those salaries are way too low.
Yes.
So I'm not addressing the $1 thing because I think that's not necessary. What I really want to know is why is she staying until June?
All right. Does anybody have any more comments, questions about the amendment? Name and address, please.
I will. Gary McNamara, 287 Bear Hill Road, Bethany. I do have a question, though. What is this for? Because I always get it and I never use it.
It's a secret. I'll tell you after. Go ahead.
I'm happy to speak to them. I'm happy to register your voters. We do that because it's easier for us to keep track of who's come and in. We're required to check people into this vote. You have to be a valid registered voter to vote at these events. This makes it easier for us.
I actually thought it was to raise our thing, so thanks for the clarification. So, listen, I think we all want efficient and effective town government. And I think, we can all vote to reduce the salary to $1 because it'll make us feel good. And we can also say we want to hold our leaders accountable. And that's what elections are for. And I think we all have to engage in future review of who's running for election. But to start messing with the budget because it's going to make us all feel good, I just don't think that that's what we want. What we've seen over the years is ineffective government. And if we start acting in an ineffective way because it's going to make us feel better, I just don't think that's the path we should go down. And I don't think reducing the salary to $1 and then having another meeting to say we're going to get it higher, I think that's what elections are for. We need quality people to be elected. They need to know what they're running at, and they want to have an understanding of what that is. I think we need effective government. I don't think this is the way we do it.
Betsy Thornquist, 25 Oak Ridge Drive. I agree with that last speaker, but I think there's something else that we need to think about. Up until this point, that has been the appropriate salary for the first selectman. And we expect that in the next election, we will have we'll have an interim selectman, and then there'll be an election, and we'll have a new selectman. But this is the time when both parties are choosing their candidates for the next election. And we can't expect anyone to take on a full-time job, giving up whatever they are doing now and not having any idea what that funding will be. So if we were to decide to reduce that salary to $1 for the next fiscal year, we would put both of our parties into the position of not being able to give the candidates an idea of what they will be paid when they take office.
Any other comments, questions, concerns anybody would like to bring up? All right, we are going to be voting on whether or not you want the amendment to go forward. So the amendment is a motion to reduce the budget by reducing the selectman's salary to $1. Everybody with me on that? Okay, all in favor signify by, and Gary, the reason is if the vote is close, we're going to have people raise these and the registrars will count them.
I stand corrected.
Okay. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Okay, we don't need these. It appears that the nays have it. So the amendment is not going forward. So we're back on question 12, the original item. Is there any discussion on item 12? Okay, so on item 12, I'm going to call the motion. All in favor of item 12 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Item 12 is passed. Item 13, I'll take a motion to empower the Board of Selectmen to authorize the first select woman to enter into any approved contracts or agreements on behalf of the town. Is there a motion?
You have to get a motion to even have a discussion, correct?
There has to be a motion before there's even a second.
I'll make a motion, just so we can have a discussion forward.
Name and address. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Name and address. So there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about this item? If you would come forward, if you just want to line up on the side, if there's more than one person, that would be great.
Gary Cohen, 96 Bethmore Road. I'd like to amend that motion to read select person, not select woman. We don't know who it's going to be. in a month or two. And I don't think Mr. Britton would appreciate being called a select woman. Oh, okay, in that case, leave it alone.
So there is an amendment in the order before we move on to talk about the rest of that item. There's an amendment. Is that, I assume you moved to amend officially. Is there a second to that amendment? So before we move on to talk about the merits of that item, we're just going to talk about the amendment. And the amendment is to change the word from select woman to select person. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we're going to vote on the amendment, not the merit of the initial item, but on the amendment to change the wording from select woman to select person. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain. All right, so let's go back to item 13. It will read, to empower the Board of Selectmen to authorize the first select person to enter into any approved contracts or agreements on behalf of the town. There's discussion about that. Go ahead.
Hi. Alicia Walowski, 300 Fairwood Road. Understanding the budget starts July 1, knowing Paul is leaving June 6th, what is the process for this? It says giving the Board of Selectmen the power for the first select person. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't read it. What is the process? What's going to happen now? Because this line item doesn't seem to pertain anymore. So how do we modify it?
So there will be, we can explain this after, but there will be a process to have an interim select person. There's a way to do that pursuant to statute, and then thereafter it can be either by appointment and or election, and then there will be an election in November.
I think she's asking about the timeline. When would this take effect?
Yeah, so one is the timeline, but two, I mean, do we look at amending this to give power to the Board of Selectmen, to Bob and Gina, to sign the contracts? Not knowing who is going to be interim.
So the attorney
Not knowing what the
indicated that
process is gonna be in.
it runs with the fiscal year, so it will take effect. What you're voting on is what will take effect July 1, 2025, and run until June 30, 2026.
Correct. But my point is, if we don't know who the interim is going to be, we don't know when that's going to happen, I know what the process is to replace the person. Do we change it and amend it to give Bob and Gina the power to be able to sign along with the interim?
It says person.
Yeah, in the gap.
It doesn't say that. It says select person. It says select person.
Purposes of clarification, it's about the position, not about the person specifically. So you're authorizing your Board of Selectmen or select persons, to authorize the office of the first select person to sign contracts that have been approved. Okay, otherwise, if you do not do that, then every contract would have to come back to this body for approval and authorization. So you're authorizing your Board of Selectmen, who kind of sit as the the CEOs of this body,
Right.
to ultimately approve and then authorize the position of first select person
Understood.
to sign.
But explaining to the town what happens when Paula resigns, so explaining to them what happens when Paula resigns and who is going to be the interim and how that works is probably an important process, so they can understand how this would happen and who would be signing in the interim.
So
So we can talk about that at the end of the budget. If people want to talk about it, we can explain it.
Right. The other thing you could do, if you can table this, if you wanted to, so that you have that answer. I mean, you're gonna the action of the selectmen will take place within 30 days of the vacancy.
Yeah, 6 days, yeah.
It's not.
So you're not gonna have the answer to your question.
Understood. I would recommend that we table this.
Are you making a motion to table?
I am. I'm making a motion that we table this
Okay, so
till the
a
town
motion-
understands what the process is for
A
the
mo-
first
a motion
selectman
to table?
replacement.
Aren't you glad I read Robert's rules again this morning? A motion to table supersedes the amendment. So there's a motion to table. I do need a second on a motion to table, if anybody wants to. Go ahead. Did you get that? Could you say it louder? So we have a motion and a second. There is no discussion on a motion to table. All in favor of tabling this motion signify by saying aye.
You can't,
There's
it's not.
no discussion on a motion to table.
I have some discussion on it.
There's no discussion on a motion to table. So right now we are tabling. So we signify by saying aye. You said aye. Opposed?
If you table it.
Can you just do this again? I apologize. All in favor of tabling signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, I'm gonna ask you to hold up your cards because I really can't tell. Registrars. Shh. Really, this is important. I need the registrars on either side to count. All in favor of tabling the motion, raise your green card high. If you are in favor of tabling, which means item 13 will not go forward at this time. It can be brought up at another time.
When's the other time?
Again, you are voting in the affirmative to table. If your hand is up, it means you want to table this, and item 13 will not go forward at this time. Item 13. All right, all those who do not want to table this but want to go forward with item 13, please keep your hands up high so our registers can count them. If registrars could come here when you're done, please. You can put your hands down, I think.
69, yes, 58.
The ayes are 69, the nays are 58. So the item is tabled at this time. So we're going on to item 14.
Why weren't we allowed to discuss it before we voted?
Because tabled, according to Robert's Rules of Order, on a motion to table something, there's no debate.
Yeah, but there's a reason why the table people don't want to discuss it, decide whether.
There's no discussion on an item to be tabled. I'm just trying to determine if we need 2/3 in order to pass this or if it's majority. It's majority. Okay, so we're going to item 14. Item 14 needs a little discussion. Item 14 is different acts of the town code. Item 14, I'll take a motion to consider an act on the approval of the revisions and updates to the following town codes. We can do this individually, or we can do this all at once, whatever your pleasure is. There's discussion about the Conservation Commission, and basically the change, and I'm being basic to help you with this, the change on the Conservation Commission is to change the appointment authority of people on the commission from the appointing party of being the first select person to being the Board of Selectmen, and to alternate the term to 3 years. The term is now 5 years. So the term is going from 5 to 3, and the appointment authority is going from the first selectman or person to the board. Excuse me 1 second. Sure.
Will Brenton, Town Clerk. Just to know where this is all coming from, there was the selectmen, was March of 24, I think, appointed a town code review committee. It was bipartisan, or actually tripartisan, because there were 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and 3 unaffiliated members of this committee. And the idea was kind of a cleanup of the town code. There's a lot of stuff that something was passed in 1956 and never looked at again, and they had gotten out of date. There's also some inconsistencies like these 2 here with conservation and economic development. All the other appointed boards are done by the Board of Selectmen. Those ones were by first selectmen, and that's why we thought it would be for consistency and more, and it's public, more open, and so forth to do so. So all of these items have gone through the Town Code Committee and gone through the selectmen and being presented tonight. So I just wanted to let you know just a little background of where this came from.
Thank you. Do you want to take these individually? No. Okay. The second one, Economic Development Commission. The change on the Economic Development Commission is the changing of the appointment authority from the first selectman alone to the Board of Selectmen. The Inland Wetlands Enforcement Officer, if I could read my notes, the board chooses the enforcement officer, and the Board of Selectmen is the one that hires that person. It's just clarifying who does what. Planning and Zoning Commission. No, wait. 60D. It's deleting the authority to remove members due to absence for 3 consecutive meetings and changing the vacancy appointment term until the next town election, as opposed to the end of the term. It used to be if somebody wasn't coming or left or decided not to be on anymore or moved out of town, that a new person would be appointed to the end of that person's term, and it might be through the next election. And now it's just until the next election when we would vote for that position. Zoning Enforcement Officer, again, it's to update, appoint who does what, and in this case, it would be changing to say or to clarify that the Planning and Zoning does the appointment of the Zoning Enforcement Officer, and the Board of Selectmen is the one that actually does the hiring. So they make the recommendation, and it's the Board of Selectmen that does the hiring. Zoning Board of Appeals, it changes the appointment authority for vacancies to the remaining members of the Zoning Board of Appeals as opposed to anybody else. The Zoning Board of Appeals gets to decide who their new person's going to be. Alarms. A lot of you have probably had alarms go off at varying times. This came from a request from the fire marshal to remove the registration requirement of alarms. We used to have to, if we had an alarm, register it with the fire department. This is to remove that recommendation, to change the language, and to change the penalty. And in this case, the recommendation is to increase the penalty for nuisance, if there's a nuisance. What that basically means is if your alarm keeps going off and you don't bother to get it fixed, and the fire department has to keep going out. after a while, there'll be a penalty levied, and the penalty is higher than it is now. And it is now what? It's $50 now going to 200. Building construction, so this refers to, it makes references in this section of the ordinances to a building commission, and we just don't have one anymore. The building commission is defunct, so it removes any reference to the building commission. It's just to try and clean up that language. Sewage disposal, it, again, trying to clean up language. It talks about references with regard to the town sanitarian and talking about fees. We don't have a town sanitarian now. We belong to a health district, so it changes the language to say it's replaced with the health department, the word health department, whether it's a local one, a regional one, our own, whatever it may be. Wells, again, it's adding in a reference to a health department in lieu of the language in there to make it clear. So these are the changes. Anybody, we do have a motion and a second. Did we have a motion? No. So that's the explanation. Can I have a motion to move this forward?
Motion.
Name and address, please.
John Garcia, 193 Road.
Thank you.
Down.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any question? Go ahead.
I just think it would be better on the Conservation Commission to add the word member after the word after alternate. Alternate terms, someone who isn't really familiar might not be clear. It should be alternate. I believe you're talking about alternate members term, not alternate term. What's an alternate term?
Can you put up the language? We'll look at the exact language, Bruce. Thank you.
Can you increase the size up there?
Where is it? Where is it, Will? Can you go to the next page?
I'm getting it.
Okay, right here it says B, alternate, within 60 days after adoption of this section, the first selectman shall appoint 2 members, one for a 2-year term, one for a 3-year term. Thereafter, all appointments shall be made for 3-year terms. So it's not members, it's the actual length of time.
So there it says alternate members, but what we're reading and voting on just says alternate terms, which could be an alternate term.
Bruce, were you talking about the page that was before that? Because that's not the actual change. The text of all the changes are here. They've been on the website. We have it here. What Carol was reading was just a summary. That's not the actual text. The actual text is, this is just a summary of it.
You put up the text again, Jen? Sure. We're going to put up the text again.
So this is actually the meat of it. This is what it says. And the first page was about changing first selectman to board of selectmen, and this is just changing it to 3-year terms, and again clarifying that's appointed by the board of selectmen. The reason for this, we're not trying to shortchange anyone 2 years, is that the full board members are 3-year terms, but the alternates were added years later at a different time, and they probably Xeroxed from another town that had 5-year terms, so it was just kind of an odd case where the full members are 3-year terms, the alternates are 5, and we're just trying to bring some consistency. But this is the actual text that you'd be approving.
So it's not about the member, it's about the actual term of service, the years of service. So do you want to go forward with your amendment?
I didn't make it, I just,
Okay.
I made a suggestion, I don't agree with voting on the way the word is.
Okay, thank you. Any question? Chris? Name and address, please.
I would like to table the section on inland wetlands enforcement officer.
Name and address.
Sullivan, 783 Road. I chair the inland wetlands.
Can you just come up here so everybody can hear? Thank you.
Chris Sullivan, 783 Amity Road. I chair the Inland Wetlands Commission. We have regulations which are model regulations that are given to us by the State Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. They outline what the responsibilities of the enforcement officer are. What is proposed in this section of the code does not comply with that. And so I would like to table this particular section of the amendment to the code because I think it needs additional review to make sure that it complies with what's supposed to be there based on state statute.
Is that a motion to table that section?
Yes.
Is there a second to the motion to table? So it's a motion to table the section dealing with the zoning enforcement officer. Thank you. There's a motion to table the section relating to the inland wetlands enforcement officer. There's no discussion, there's merely a vote. All in favor of tabling that one section, item C, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Abstain? The ayes have it. So we're going to go forward with item 14 minus section C. Any more discussion on item 14, any aspect of it? Seeing none, all in favor of moving item 14 with the exception of section C, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Item 14 passes. Item 15, I'll take a motion to authorize the acquisition of 101 Russell Road property by the process of eminent domain in accordance with the purchase terms approved by the May 15, 2023 town meeting. Who said that? Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Any discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none?
We have a quick presentation.
I don't think anybody has any questions. Would you like to see the presentation?
Does anyone have any questions?
Okay.
Well, all right then. All right.
There's no questions
This
or
is your
comments.
chance. Okay, goodbye.
There's one question or comment. Go ahead. Please come forward.
EJ Marr, 648 Litchfield Turnpike. I would like some clarifying language on what this was. I understand it was done at a different town meeting, but I don't know why we would use eminent domain as a vehicle. It just seems like a process we don't want to start in Bethany, right? Like, if we need to take a property for adverse condition, like we can use a tax lien and sell it at a tax sale. That's typically the appropriate, in my view, way to fairly distribute property that's being used. I don't know why we're doing this.
Okay,
so
it's a motion for clarification. It can be explained. Go ahead.
I'll give you a quick explanation, and trust me, it's quick. All right, so what had happened was this town meeting approved the acquisition of 101 Russell Road through a purchase and sale agreement. The sellers of the property, Paul Gagliardi and Mary Gagliardi, had subdivided this portion, 101 Russell Road, off of their larger tract. When they did so, they didn't realize that the liens that were encumbering the larger tract remained on the divided portion, 101 Russell. So since entering into the purchase and sale agreement in August of 2023, the Gagliardis have been unsuccessful in clearing title. So we have waited now almost 2 years for them to close on this transaction. And they, in discussing it with their attorney, I had suggested utilizing eminent domain through a consensual process. So we would utilize the terms of the purchase and sale agreement. The town would file a certificate of taking with the court, deposit the sale proceeds under the purchase and sale agreement with the court, and within about a month from there, become the owner of the property by way of a taking on consent of the owners of the property. So the Gagliardis are in favor of this, and I do have an email in this presentation from their lawyer, and I'll leave a copy of this up here if anyone would like to see it, where the lawyer has stated that his clients consent to the eminent domain process. So the sole reason for entering into an eminent domain process is to assist the sellers with clearing title to the property, because by way of eminent domain, when the town files eminent domain, it extinguishes all of the liens on the property, and all the lien interest will attach to the proceeds that the town deposits into the court, and that'll be up for the owners of the equity to figure out. So it's a quick way for us to assist the owners and close on this transaction that this meeting approved almost 2 years ago. Does that clarify?
Are there any other comments?
It does clarify. I would move to amend in response to his explanation that this motion we take tonight does not become precedence. I don't think generally the town should be in the business of taking property from homeowners for town use.
So your motion to amend is what?
To not let this motion set precedence for future eminent domain.
I don't think it's out of order. It's not, it doesn't relate particularly to this.
And just for the record, I don't believe it creates precedent. Every matter will stand on its own facts. This is on consent of the owners, and the record can reflect that.
Understood. Yes.
Are there any other comments or questions?
I completely.
Could you just come up?
Yes.
Thank you.
There we go. I totally get what you're saying.
Name and address, please.
The wording, Seth Harkness, 619 Bethmore Road. EJ, totally get what you're saying. The words are scary. So eminent domain, you throw that in there. If you put it in different words, maybe next time, isn't that what you're saying, EJ? Like next time, maybe put it in different language?
That's last resort, right? And that's how we're using it. I don't want it to become like, oh, we did this last week, so let's do it next week.
Yeah, no, I do understand what he's saying. I'm just, I went through the whole thing. I listened to it before, and I agree. I think the wording should be different maybe next time. Work on wording. We're going to work on wording.
Are there any other comments or questions about 15? Hearing none, all in favor of moving item 15 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? 15 passes. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Many. And is there a second? All in favor? You guys are impressive. Thank you for your patience and time.